Hi there, this is Steven with Karma Astrology, and I'm coming to you live from Santa Fe, New Mexico, to talk about the solar eclipse in Taurus. Today is June 10th. It's a Thursday here in the United States. It is 9:23 a.m. here in Santa Fe, Denver time zone. And we just had the eclipse a couple hours ago, but the energy of the eclipse, the effect of it goes on for another about a week. I mean, some say it's up to 6 months before and after. So, take it however you feel it. I tend to feel it most strongly with the week before and the week after the eclipse or the moon, but eclipses definitely tend to create things that they get pushed into motion further into the future. So it kind of is just the beginning or perhaps the ending for you in some way in your life. Excuse me. So that being said, we have this total solar eclipse, and when basically the solar eclipse happens when the moon's orbit around the Earth intersects the Earth's orbit around the sun. There are 2 points where those two orbits intersect, and at those 2 points, when the sun and the moon align with those points, and to create a full moon or a new moon, then we get an eclipse, because it's a very exact alignment with the Earth. It's like Earth, then moon, then sun, then the stars beyond it are in a straight line right now. So, that being said, this one's in Taurus, as you can see up here. This is the box with Taurus. T-A-U at the top means Taurus. M-O is the moon. M-E-R is Mercury retrograde. S-U is the sun. And Rahu, R-A, is up there at the top. That Rahu is the north node of the moon. Ketu down here is the south node of the moon, opposite Rahu. Those two intersecting points where the moon's orbit and the Earth's orbit align. Or intersect each other, I should say. So, when we get solar eclipses, we tend to feel a little confused, a little indecisive, a little unsure of things, because there's this general confusion associated with the nodes of the moon. And this confusion around this eclipse, since it's near the north node of the moon, as you can see up here, Rahu is the north node of the moon, it shows that it's confusion about things that we haven't had a chance to work on in our lives. Confusion about new things that are coming into our lives. It can show just radical new changes coming into our lives, radical changes in society. This can be, on a personal level, in a familial level, in a group level, in a whole society level and global level, because it is a global event. No matter where you are in the world, we are experiencing this eclipse energy. So eclipses not only lead to confusion, but these new things coming into our lives when we're around the north node, and and these things are going to be kind of themed around Taurus energy. So Taurus energy is about feeling good and anything that really feeds our senses. So when this eclipse happens, or since it's happening in Taurus, we are kind of obsessively going towards our senses. Anything that feels good, anything that looks good, anything that smells good or sounds good, those are all things that are on kind of our radar right now. We're kind of obsessively looking for that sense of comfort and pleasure and enjoyment. And so we might be called more towards hanging out with friends and family and other people, and our partners in particular, people that bring joy and happiness into our lives. But the thing is, we might be a little too focused on this sort of insatiable appetite for pleasure, a little too much focused on that in order to just experience the pleasure that's around us all the time. So it's good to remind ourselves to be present, and to be aware, to be in the moment, so that we can experience all these joyful things and all these pleasurable things that we're kind of bringing into our life and we're working hard to create. And that kind of brings me to another aspect of Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign, so it's about building something and working hard and doing something tangible and practical in order to achieve our goals. And in this case, our goals are to feel good and to feel pleasurable and to make our senses pleased. So Taurus tends to relate to any sort of building process or craftsmanship. Perhaps if you're a glass blower or a potter or a home builder, or you do anything that basically is about building something and creating a beautiful design, a sense of beauty or an aspect of beauty to it that other people can appreciate and get some sort of joy out of. That's what Taurus is really about. So it's this craftsman energy. And so any like sort of crafts or hobbies that you do that kind of are about creativity and bringing, and that includes art for sure. If you're a tattoo artist or a stencil art, I don't know. If you do anything having to do with beauty, really, this is kind of the sign of beauty. And so this north node of the moon can make us kind of obsessed and insatiably obsessed with getting things to be beautiful in our lives. And that definitely takes form of wherever we typically look for beauty in our lives, wherever that house is that Taurus is in our individual charts. So those are big things. And then on top of that, we have Mercury retrograde, right? Pretty much smack dab on the eclipse. You can see the sun is at 25. The moon's past it a couple degrees now, but Mercury is at 26 and between the two. So Mercury is this planet of communication. It relates to our intellectual mind and our ability to explain things and take things in and kind of learn new things, or just be open to the process of changing our opinions and our beliefs and being flexible. It's not really so much of a judgmental factor within us as much as just kind of learning and discriminating between just the nuances in life. It's kind of like we put on our lab coat and our nerdy scientific glasses and figuratively in order to figure out all the subtle nuances and the details that we kind of learn about when we manipulate certain things or when we study things over a certain amount of time, and we see how each variable influences the whole overall picture. So that's very much the Mercury part of our consciousness, of our life. And so when Mercury's retrograde, it shows that we might be a little slow in our thought processes. We might act before we think. We might, anytime a planet moves retrograde, it slows things down, and it causes us to reflect a lot more on what they are. So we might be trying to organize and figure out the details and the structures and the make sense of the world around us in whatever kind of world we're looking into, and that and we might get ahead of ourselves. We might think that we know how something works before we've done all the studying and all the processing to figure out what is actually happening. We might speak before we think too much. That's really the main thing with Mercury retrograde. We tend to speak sooner than we process things. So we really need to be careful and slow down and reflect upon our thoughts and our reasoning and our arguments before we even open our mouths in the first place. So that's a big theme on this excuse me, new moon solar eclipse. Now that confusion will obviously add, the confusion of the obsessiveness, the insatiability of this moon, our tendency towards like obsessing over pleasure and what gives us pleasure, will lead to basically over-intellectualizing it and maybe misunderstanding certain things. Maybe we're obsessed with getting to an end and we skip over the means of whatever we're doing. So if you're a glass blower, a craftsman of some sort, you're making some sort of beautiful artwork, but let's say just glass blowing, maybe since it's time sensitive and since it's heat sensitive work that you do when you glass blow, perhaps you don't give enough time. You're not managing your time well enough, and the piece breaks or shatters, or maybe you put a line where you didn't want the line to be and you got to throw it back in the kiln, or that can happen with artists. Maybe you draw a line on your painting and it's not in the right spot because you were thinking ahead without actually reflecting on how to get that kind of aspect into your painting, into your glass, into whatever you're doing. If you're a trader or something like that, you might be jumping the gun on a trade. You might buy something too soon because you haven't worked out your thought processes all the way to make sense of it all. So those are big aspects of today and these next couple weeks. So when we get obsessive and kind of just taken away by beauty, taken away by things, we can get a little hedonistic. So it's important not to get too overly sexualized, overly indulgent in the things that we use to seek pleasure, like pot or alcohol or whatever our medications that we're on. It's really good to kind of make sure that we're balanced, make sure that we are intelligently not going overboard with anything during, especially today, but during last week and this upcoming week in general. Now Mrigashira, as you can see down here, Mrigashira is that after Taurus, it's the sub-constellation where this is located, or the Indian or Vedic constellation where this solar eclipse is located, and you can see that MRG after the Moon, Mercury, and the Sun is all Mrigashira. That's what that stands for, that MRG. And so Mrigashira is this kind of seeking, searching energy. It literally translates to the seeker, or a deer's head, because it kind of has this whimsical, soft, gentle attitude to it. So we might be kind of trying to find pleasure or seek this sort of elusive beauty in our lives that only we understand and only we are looking for, where there's this kind of aspect of Mrigashira where other people don't really understand us, other people don't understand why we're doing a certain thing or acting a certain way, and that's often because we're trying to figure it out, and we're on our own individual path and trying to figure out what we're seeking after and how to do it. So we might make mistakes along the way, but there's definitely this sort of searching attitude to this moon. So you might find yourself looking for something that's beautiful, for something that's hidden, that's secretive, and kind of digging beneath the surface, or going out into the woods alone, or something as simple as doing something very familiar but looking for a deeper meaning in it. Mrigashira has a lot to do with like gardening and the aspect of gardening that's about making things beautiful, but also kind of it's a solitary kind of practice to take care of your garden. I mean, unless you are lucky enough to have other people tend to your garden with you. But in general, we're kind of creating this beauty. We're designing our garden based on what plants we want in there, and how much we water them is directly related to their size and their qualities and beauty and all that stuff. So it's definitely this kind of this hard work that we put into beautifying the world around us. You might want to just straighten up your home in this eclipse time. You could do some cleaning and find, or maybe painting in your home, or something that kind of adds to the beauty, adds to the enjoyment that you and the other people that share your home, your friends, your guests, whatever, experience when they come into your space. So there's this beautiful, beautifying aspect of this eclipse. There's the searching and the seeking for something that gives meaning into our lives, and that's going to be different for each of us depending on what calls to us. Where, like I said, Taurus is going to be in a different house for each of us. If it's in your 7th house, you're looking to connect with other people, you're looking to find beauty in your relationships, your sex drive is going to be heightened. If it's in your 1st house, you might be putting on more makeup today, or taking a shower and putting on essential oils or some sort of aromatherapy, or just making something beautiful out of your immediate experience. But for all of us, we're really, we're all connected through our senses to the world around us. So it's good, no matter what you're doing and how you express it, to focus on things that are pleasing to the senses. That's really the key here, but not to get too overindulgent and out of control with it. So enjoy yourself, take it easy, search for something, find something that's meaningful to you, work on it, respect that kind of earthy aspect of it by applying time and effort into your activities, and maybe it's a good time to start like a garden, to start a process of, maybe start making something new that, using a craft or a skill that you have. Maybe it's starting a new relationship, or making an effort to go through a new cycle in your relationship where you're getting closer to your partner or your family or your friends. But all in all, like the main kind of focus is increasing the beauty, increasing the pleasure, increasing the joyful sensations in your life. So on that note, I hope you all have a wonderful, beautiful, happy day and a nice week ahead of you. Focus on that kind of Taurian energy, and I will see you tomorrow for my daily forecast. Peace and love. Take care.